We've told you about the many faces of death in the past, from being burned alive to being crushed to death by a car. However, today we're going to tell you about a rather interesting way to die, a secret that only the dead know. It all happened during the first week of January 2008 when two corpses were found in a forest near the town of Colico. The man had been shot in the head while the woman had died from multiple stab wounds. An investigation was immediately launched, but things got weirder when investigators found out that both the victim and the suspect were members of the Italian Mafia. The deceased man was identified as Giuseppe Greco, a 46-year-old member of the Sicilian Mafia who had gone missing a few days earlier. His best friend was also a Mafia member, one who had killed several people for his organization. And because of this, he became a key witness in a trial against the Italian Mafia, which took place in the city of Ragusa. But, despite him turning state's evidence, he was still considered an enemy of the Mafia, even though he was living under police protection. At the time of his murder, it was believed that the hit was carried out by a rival gang of mobsters. But a shocking revelation later turned things upside down. Just a day before his body was discovered, Greco had informed his wife over the phone that he knew the identity of the killer, that he had already figured out who had betrayed him. When he said this, he was confident, almost laughing as if he had a secret that only he knew. And when he hung up, he never called again. That's why it was so strange that his corpse was found in a forest outside of town and not at his home. And then there was the autopsy report. When they examined the body, the forensic experts realized that the bullet that killed him had been fired from very close range, no more than 30 centimeters away. This suggested that the shot was made by someone he knew and trusted, someone who could have easily killed him without anyone else knowing. And apparently, this is how he died, smiling. Even stranger was the fact that despite being murdered, there were no signs of a struggle.
Ow.
There were no defensive wounds or anything that would suggest he put up a fight.
Ow.
In fact, the position of his body suggested he was calm when he was killed. He wasn't lying on the ground, but sitting in a chair. And when the investigators arrived at the scene, they found his glasses, cell phone, and wallet on him. His watch was missing, but that was the only thing that was gone. This made no sense at all. Why would a murderer take the time to collect the victim's belongings if he wanted to get rid of him? And why would he sit him down in a chair, make sure he was comfortable, and then shoot him right in the head? Did he want to send a message? If so, what exactly did the message say? And most importantly, who was behind the murder? After thinking long and hard about it, the police finally got an answer when they searched Greco's house. They found a hidden compartment containing several weapons, some of them unregistered. These included a 9mm Beretta pistol, a shotgun, and several hunting rifles. They also found bullets, ammunition, and various knives. It appeared that the Mafia boss kept his weapons collection hidden inside his own house, which makes sense since he was a former hitman himself. But there was something else in the house that didn't belong to him. After combing through every room, the police came across a locked safe in his bedroom. Unfortunately, they couldn't open it, so they took it to the station house. After several hours of trying different combinations, one of the officers finally opened the safe and saw what was inside. There were several photographs of various Mafia bosses, including one of Greco with Bernardo Provenzano, the former head of the Sicilian Mafia Commission. There was also a large sum of money, documents, handwritten notes, and computer disks. But the main discovery was a flash drive hidden in a secret compartment. When they looked at the contents of the flash drive, the investigators were shocked. It contained pictures and videos of various Mafia meetings and rituals, including a ceremony where new members swore their allegiance to the organization. There was also footage of Mafia bosses discussing illegal activities, drug trafficking and killings, as well as videos showing the inner workings of the organization. In total, there were over 100 gigabytes of data on the flash drive, enough to bring down the entire Mafia. With this kind of evidence in hand, the police felt confident that they could charge the Mafia bosses with several crimes. But they needed more. So the investigators went back to the house and continued searching. They uncovered a second hidden compartment in Greco's study, which contained hundreds of surveillance camera tapes. When they watched the recordings, they saw images of different houses in the area, especially the house where the judge and the prosecutor who were handling the case against the Mafia lived. What did the Mafia have planned? It seemed like they were planning to kidnap the judge and the prosecutor, but that wasn't all. Another video showed a man who looked exactly like Greco entering a shop and buying cleaning supplies. Was this a clue to what had happened to him? Had he been taken to that store and then killed? To find out, the police visited the shop and checked the surveillance tapes. As it turned out, Greco had indeed been there, but he wasn't alone. One of the men with him was none other than his best friend, the one who had killed several people for the Mafia. But that wasn't the only time the two were seen together. On another occasion, they were spotted leaving a hotel in a strange car. Investigators soon realized that the vehicle belonged to a rival gang of mobsters. So it appears that instead of taking Greco to the shop, his so-called friend had taken him to meet the rival gang, which is why his body was found in a forest outside of town. Now this raises the question, why would Greco's friend betray him? Well, the answer is simple. Both men had become enemies of the Mafia after turning state's evidence. But while Greco testified against the organization, his friend didn't. He was simply a witness in the case, which meant that the Mafia would eventually come for him too. By betraying Greco, he saved himself and his family. As for Greco, he was lucky to have died smiling because he knew the truth. He knew who his killer was, and he must have felt relieved to have died knowing that justice would be served. Sadly, the same can't be said about the woman whose body was found near Greco's. Her name was Anna. She had been in a relationship with a Mafia boss named Matteo Messina Denaro, who was considered one of the most powerful mobsters in Italy. Their affair had been going on for years, and Anna knew a lot about the Mafia, enough to put several mobsters behind bars. At the time of her death, she was scheduled to testify against Denaro, which is why he had her killed. Like with Greco, Anna was murdered in cold blood. Her body was found in a forest far away from her home. Even though she was a well-known figure, the police were unable to identify her remains. They had to rely on dental records to figure out who she was. But unlike Greco, Anna wasn't smiling when she died. According to the autopsy report, her face was contorted in terror, which suggests that she fought back. Unlike Greco, she didn't have the luxury of not resisting. She didn't have a gun or anything that would allow her to defend herself. All she had was her fearsome spirit. Despite the police finding the two corpses in the same location, they're still unsure if the murders were connected. Greco and Anna were from different parts of Italy and had no apparent connection. So why were they killed in the same place? Was it just a coincidence, or was there more to the story? Investigators believe that the murders are connected, that Greco was killed in the same place to send a message to Anna, since she was scheduled to testify against Denaro. This gruesome double murder was a warning to her and everyone else involved in the case. Sadly, despite the police having enough evidence to arrest several mobsters, they're still walking free. This is mostly due to the fact that they're good at hiding their faces. Even when the police arrest them, they often wear masks in court and their pictures are banned from the media. Because of this, it's difficult to know who they really are and what they look like. However, we managed to find one picture of a scary-looking mafioso. Take a look. But remember, you should never try to identify these people in public. Otherwise, you might end up in a body bag yourself. Now, you need to watch Most Painful Ways to Die. Or check out this video instead.